So, thank you all for coming to the seminar. Today, what we're going to be just kind of covering is running, the main benefits, the common misconceptions about running, especially when you're starting as a beginner, the energy systems that are at play when we are running, and then different training approaches that would be used, and again, the most common kind of ones. So, just a quick one. Using your whiteboards, what is the first thing you think of when you are running? So, just one or two words. Again, first thing that pops into your head. It could be one word, it could be a sentence, whatever you prefer. Yeah. Oh, look, anything. First thing that pops into your head when you think of running. Heart rate up. Yeah. So once you have it, you can put it up. Yeah. Sweat, hard. Yeah, I can't. Heart rate up. A to B. Yeah, very practical thinking. And then out of breath. Yeah. So look, one of the big things there is that running is hard. That's what one of the main kind of misconceptions is. It is difficult, but it's definitely your approach definitely determines how hard it is. If you're going into every run and you're going flat to the mat 100%, well, of course it's going to be hard. If you don't monitor your intensity during a run, of course it's going to be hard. Of course it's going to be difficult. When you go into a gym, when you go into every session, do you do a 1 rep max on a bench press every time? No. Yeah, we monitor our intensity during our sessions, and this is the same thing for running as well. Again, another one is out of breath, heart rate up. It's all kind of to do with intensity, and one of the kind of common things that happens when you first get into running is that you go out too hard too early in your running journey, and that's what kind of forms these kind of negative kind of feelings or negative thoughts when it comes to running, that it's too hard, can't do it, out of breath, heart rate up, all that kind of stuff. It just means that your approach is probably not best suited yet. But yeah, we can all go for those really hard runs to test ourselves, but the better approach is to just kind of gradually get into it so that we're not having these negative kind of feelings towards running. We should gradually build up. Then when we get a base, and then when we feel like we're strong enough, then we should start going and testing ourselves and going flat to the mat. But there's no need to go all out and for the first time. So again, that's one of the big things that we'll kind of get onto later when it comes to running and starting out, is that you're going out too hard too early. So main benefits of running: cardiovascular health is an absolutely massive one. Again, it helps your body become more efficient to pump blood and oxygen around the body. Mental health, I think a lot of you have probably heard of runner's high. Again, a big endorphins rush. Once you're finished your runs, you feel pretty good after. Again, you don't regret ever doing a run, or you don't regret ever doing exercise. When you come into here and do your session, you don't come out being like, I fucking hate that, or I fucking regret doing that. You always are happy that you've kind of ran or did a training session. It can be used to help maintain or lose weight alongside a diet intervention as well. It can improve your sleep, and also improves mental toughness. Again, if you're kind of in the pain cave with your runs and you're going at that really high intensity kind of level, it will improve your mental toughness with that. And it also is social too. So one of the main running misconceptions, again, this is something that I went on earlier on. Every run has to be as fast as possible, and that is completely false. And it's really is the wrong way that you should be approaching your runs. Again, 80% of your runs in your training kind of block should be quote unquote easy. It should be at a conversational pace. It shouldn't be max heart rate, all out, 100% intensity every time. And again, this is what kind of makes you fall into that trap of kind of hating running. I know when I first got exposed to running, it was during COVID, and we were doing I think few people remember the 5K challenge. Yeah. So that's how I first got into it. I did my first 5K. I went flat out, and I was like, okay, right, fine. Let me try keep this up. I ran a 5K every second or third day, went all out, max intensity. And then I eventually started pushing it off because I didn't like it, because I'd come out of it feeling absolutely goosed. My muscles were sore. It was taking me long to recover from each session because I was going as fast as possible for every run. My intensity wasn't being monitored. I wasn't doing my easy runs. I was just doing 5K fast as I can every time. Eventually, I stopped, had those kind of negative kind of feelings towards running that it's too hard, it's not for me. So that's how you kind of fall into that trap, due to that big common misconception. Another one that kind of falls in line with that is 5K is the minimum distance to run. And that's completely false. I think it's also down to that COVID 5K challenge as well. Like, as long as your intensity and your intent is there and you have a main goal in mind, there's absolutely nothing wrong with running 1 kilometer, running 3 kilometers. 5K isn't the minimum distance to run. You can have plenty of runs that are shorter and that are as effective towards your goal. Running is already for fit people. Again, another common misconception: running is probably one of the most inclusive activities that you can do. It doesn't require any equipment. All it requires is the outdoors and legs. Like, that's about it. So again, it's it can kind of be for everyone. You can't run and do strength training. That's completely false. Running and strength training go completely hand in hand. Strength training makes you more robust, improves your power, improves your amount of your efficiency when you run. So they go hand in hand, and they should be done concurrently as well. And then some people aren't built to run. Again, that's similar kind of thing into that one. Maybe you had a bad experience running and you're just like, I'm not built for this. And that's probably just down to the wrong approach. So the different energy systems that are involved when we exercise. So when we exercise, we break down our food to create ATP. So ATP is pretty much the energy currency of our body. It's what makes us do all these movements. When you were training today, Karen, you use a lot of ATP to move the weights. And it's the same thing when it comes to running. We have 3 different energy systems that are at play. We have our phosphocreatine system, and this is for durations of 0 to 10 seconds. So, for example, a 100-meter sprint, if you're doing a 1 rep max or a 3 rep max on a squat, bench, or deadlift, you'll be using that phosphocreatine system as well. These are for short, quick, and powerful bouts of exercise. And you can kind of think of it as a Lamborghini. It's really powerful, but it isn't very energy efficient. It's going to kind of come out and kind of degrade over a short period of time. You then have your next one, which is your glycolytic system. This is also anaerobic as well, so it doesn't require oxygen. Again, these are for durations of 10 seconds to 2 minutes. And the energy source is mainly glucose, so carbohydrates that you've consumed. And then this is kind of for the longer bouts of exercise, around 800 meters, or kind of short bouts of hill sprints. So again, the intensity is still really high and the power is still really high, but it might go on for a little bit longer, but it still isn't really that efficient. So you can kind of call it, for that Audi over there, it's still quick, it's still powerful, but it's not very efficient when it comes to fuel, and it will gas out quite quickly too. Finally, our oxidative system, or our aerobic system, and this is the main thing that's used when we are running. If you're thinking 5K, if you're thinking marathon, half marathon, this is the main energy system that's going to be used. Again, these are for durations over 2 minutes, long duration activity. The main energy source is carbohydrate and carbohydrate, fats, and then also oxygen is used to help break those down for you to get that ATP to do these continuous exercises. In relation to running, again, it's for your long distance running, your marathon, steady state 5K, and that relies mainly on this energy system. So the more efficient, the more powerful this energy system is, the more able you're able to use oxygen. Is That's what's going to help you run longer and faster and be more efficient. And again, you can kind of think of it like the Prius. It's not as fast as the other cars, but it definitely has a better range than the other ones as well. Again, then just a little diagram that kind of explains it. Again, you have your phosphocreatine system here, has a really high peak and then goes down quite quickly. Again, 0 to 10 seconds. Your glycolysis as well is somewhere in the middle. And then you have your oxidative, your aerobic. Again, it goes on for longer, but it's like a longer duration. Okay. So what are the different types of runs we can do? Again, just a couple of seconds, just write down what runs you think that we can do. If you don't have any, that's okay, but try come up with one if you can. Okay, once you're finished, you can put it up. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you all had different ones. So there was sprint, there was so a lot of intervals. That's quite a common one. That's a really effective one that we can use. Long runs as well are. Yeah, so you've done them before. So do you know when you're on the bike, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. So for a run, you could do 30 seconds hard, 30 seconds stop, or 30-second recovery. Depends on the pace at what you want to go at. So we kind of have a couple of ones that I'm going to mention now that are quite important. First one is probably the most important one is zone 2 training, or these can be kind of quote unquote your easy runs. These are easy, steady pace running. Your heart rate is around 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. You're going at a conversational pace. So you should be able to hold a conversation whilst you're running. It should be nice, slow, nice and handy that you're able to maybe sing along to a song whilst you're running, or if you're able to carry out a conversation, that's it. So it's not really high intensity. It's just steady state, nice and easy, keeping the heart rate kind of quite low. So it's a good one to build your aerobic base. So kind of how you can do that is, so your max heart rate is 220 minus your age. So for a 30-year-old, it'll be your max heart rate will be 190, and then your zone 2 is 60 to 70% of that. So you're in and around 114 to 133 beats per minute. If you have a wearable, this would be a good way to kind of monitor that. A lot of wearables already have your kind of zones, your estimated zones. So keeping it within zone 2 is a good way of building your aerobic base. And again, you can monitor this using your wearables too. And if you need to slow down and stop and walk because your heart rate is too high, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's the way you should be doing it. If your heart rate gets too high, it means you need to slow down. Over time, your body will become more efficient and more able to go at higher speeds at zone 2, at lower heart rates. But you need to give that your body time to adapt to that kind of training. And again, it improves your ability to burn fat for energy, boosts oxygen efficiency, reduces the risk of overtraining and injury. And again, this is a massive one. How many of you did you know this going into when you first tried running? Yeah, like I didn't either. Like my first attempt was 5K all out, where I should have been just going at a conversational pace, keeping the heart rate low. And that would have kind of maybe helped my, say, feelings towards running originally. If I was keeping the intensity low and keeping the heart rate low and everything wasn't hurting during my runs, I probably would have had a better attitude towards it. And again, it's essential for long-term progress with running. Second one, intervals. So this is mentioned a lot. It's the speed work. Either short bursts of faster running followed by a rest or easy jogging. So you could do 30 seconds on as fast as you can with 3 minutes recovery, as a like you can go to a complete stop or you can walk. It depends. But there's many ways that you can do it. You can do 1 kilometer on as fast as you can, 4 minutes recovery. That's one of the most popular ones for developing your 5K speeds. It's difficult. It sucks, but it's a way of doing it. It's a way of kind of doing high intensity work, but kind of managing the workload. And again, you can modify this any way you can. You can do 500 meters on, 200 meters on. You can make it as small as possible and make the rest periods as long as you can to make it suited for yourself. So you don't have to be doing these superhero 1 kilometer repeats and then with like hardly any recovery. You can make it suited to your intensity and to your base. Again, it boosts running speed and power and improves your VO2 max. So this is a big one. This is the amount of oxygen that your body can be used during exercise. So this is quote unquote your engine, basically. So that's a really important one. It builds mental toughness. Again, if you're going into that pain cave during your intervals, you will be mentally stronger. And again, it trains the body to clear lactic acid more efficiently as well. Threshold runs. These are also a kind of nice one to do. This is running done at a point where your body creates more lactic acid than it can get rid of. So you're at around 80 to 90% of your max heart rate. So you're going quite quick at this one. You can hold it for no longer than an hour, hour and a half. So if you are interested in training for a half marathon and trying to get a quick time, threshold runs are probably your best friend when it comes to this. Again, you should probably only do one session of this a week. And then again, mostly doing your zone 2 training, about 80% of that. And then another one could be an interval run, depending on what you want to do. Feels at about 7 to 8 out of 10 for RP. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how intense something is, you're kind of in around 7 to 8. It bridges the gap between zone 2 and speed work, makes you more efficient. Again, essential for improving your 10K time and your half marathon pace, especially. Increases your lactate threshold, meaning you can run faster for longer before fatigue sets in. So you can do this 20 minutes steady, again, and gradually build up from there. Or you can then make it into an interval. You can do by 2 by 10 minutes steady, 2 minutes recovery in between. Again, there's no way to really get a good estimate on this. Your Garmin or your wearable can give you the pace at which your lactate threshold is, and you can kind of work around it there. Probably the best way is like a test where you kind of prick your thumb, but the wearables kind of get sort of spot on. So you can use that as a kind of a guide, and then if it's too intense, then kind of bring it down, or if it's too light, then kind of bring it up. You kind of have to have a bit of trial and error with these kind of ones. Another one that I saw was long run. Again, yes, that's another one that you can do. And again, I kind of put that in with zone 2 as well. So like your longer runs can be at a lower intensity as you go for longer distances as well. But those are the three main ones that I suggested. Those are the three main ones that have got me to where I am now with my running. The threshold runs, I think, if you're going for a 10K or if you're going for a half, these ones are really, really important. The zone 2 is extremely important as well. Again, 80% of your sessions should be easy, should be zone 2. And then the speed and interval sessions are also quite important. Try get to, if you have a good base built up, try get one of those sessions in a week. But if you're coming from a complete beginner, probably, like, I'd say zone 2 is probably your best friend. Once you have a good base build up, then you can start thinking of interval runs and thresholds and all those kind of fancy ones. But again, especially at the start, if you're looking to just go and get it 5K, kind of build up from there, zone 2 is your best friend. Once you have a kind of 5K down, then intervals will probably be the next best option. And then once you have kind of all that, and you're looking for a half marathon or a 10K, which hopefully you might be looking to do, threshold runs will definitely be a big factor for that. So that's kind of it. Just a quick recap then. Running is a great form of exercise. It's inclusive and has many health benefits. Again, not every run has to be as fast as possible. If you take anything from this, not every run has to be fast as possible, and running at slower paces is great for building your engine. Those are the two main things that I'd love for you to get from this. Speed work and threshold runs are also great methods for developing speed and aerobic capacity. Again, there are plenty of ways that you can develop these and put these into your training. And then strength training is essential for longevity and injury prevention for running. So again, guys, if there's any questions or anything, please fire away. That's pretty much that from the seminar. Thank you. Nice. Yeah, well, I think that is true, actually. Any questions, guys?
So with like the run,
Yeah.
what's the plan? Like, what's the
So the idea is that you do 3 runs a week. One will be a social run, a zone 2 run, conversational pace run that we'll be doing together. And the main aim of that is to kind of gradually increase the mileage on that as each week goes on. The other 2 sessions will be on the app. They'll have a beginner option and then more of an intermediate option then for that as well. You'd probably have a little interval run if you're more intermediate, and then the rest is kind of mostly zone two based. So you might have a longer run that might be prescribed in that, but it'll be mainly just have a small interval one, your conversational pace one, which we'll be doing together, kind of increasing gradually over time, and then another run in that as well. So 3 runs a week, one all together, and then two just carried on by yourselves. Yeah.
In terms of like then combining that with the strength training, like in terms of like schedule, like
Yeah.
what would you say, like intervals obviously quite intense. Would you say not combine that on a day that you're doing strength, do it on a separate day, sort of?
Yeah,
There's
like
only so many days in a week.
no, that makes complete sense. Um, I'd say just see how you feel after the first run, and if you're able to kind of be felt fine with that, just make sure that there's a long time away. So, like maybe have a day in between if you can. If you feel like that you're feeling strong and your sessions are not being effective, there you can do them on the same day, but just make sure that there's a long time between them and that you're fueled appropriately. But I say if you're kind of starting off and stuff, try have them on separate days. And if say you're training a lower body dominant day, the day before it, so if it's an interval one, try keep that in mind. Um, yeah, that's kind of the main one there.
What if you're so bad like yourself? Like I run out of breath and I need to run to the bus stop. I'm meant to be
Yeah.
nearly sick. So how do I start?
Again, just try again. It's start low. Again, the same thing is there's no distance. There's no minimum distance that you can do. So if you want to go for a small, like a lower distance, that's completely fine. So like if you want to go for 1 kilometer, that's grand. Or if you want to do 1 kilometer and make it into an interval, if you want to do 1 kilometer, take 3 second recovery or 3 minute recovery or a kilometer recovery, you can do that as well. You can manipulate intervals really well to suit your goals when it comes to your running. Intervals are really good for making you hit your goals. Like you can do that again, 1 kilometer on, 3 minutes off, 1 kilometer off, and then go again. Just break it up gradually, and then you'll kind of get there. Yeah. No worries.
Set day or time for doing the group one?
Yeah, Eamon and I are looking. It's not fully set yet. Anything else? All good.
Like what do you recommend in terms of like fuel,
Carbs,
like
carbs,
before
carbs would be your best friend. Um, if you're feeling really fatigued after your runs, if you're feeling the same way you are as for strength training, try that for the first run. And if you're feeling that your performance isn't great and you're feeling really shit after, um, then increase your carbs a little bit more before. We are looking for simple carbs like fruit, banana, Rice Krispie squares bar, something like anything like that for about an hour before. Something that's really easily digestible. The worst thing you can do is get a load of mince, a load of fat kind of fuel, like a fat as fuel, and then that's really hard to digest. So it'll be just sitting in your stomach. So make sure that what you're eating is light, and has good bit of carbohydrate and simple sugars that are easily digestible about an hour up until your run. Yeah.
and hydration with that, like is it more so after?
Drink to thirst is a general kind of thing, but again, see that you have your electrolytes there, something that you could have before or after, depending on how long the run is. If you're feeling really fatigued after your run, electrolytes would be a good one to have after, because you lose them during your training. Yeah. Anything else? No? All good? So the plan is to do a. You have an option. You can do 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, or 3 kilometers at time trial, so that you kind of have something to kind of work towards. So what we can do is we can get ourselves warmed up. We can do an easy run to the park that's over there, and then it's just 1 kilometer or 2 or 3, depending on what you want to do. Um, yeah, own pace. Yeah, 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 yeah. Again, don't blow out. Do not do not try and be a superhero and go for this unbelievable time. Go at a handy pace. If you haven't ran before, and 1, 2, or 3K easy run is also a nice way to start too. So yeah, like there's so many different types of footwear out in the market and stuff. I think my recommendations is these are really good all around. They're the Asics Nova Blast. They're quite good. The Nike Vomeros are also quite good too. Um, Anything with that has a good cushion, especially for your slower runs, is decent. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do help. Like it does that cushion, especially for me. Like around 93 kilos, that does help with the joints. I'd be considered a heavy runner, so like anything with a bit of cushion, a bit of extra cushion helps. Again, as you get more advanced, footwear does play a bit more of a role. But if you're starting off and you're primarily doing easy runs, something that's comfortable and something that's cushioned is probably best. And then when you start doing fancy interval runs and stuff like that, then you can go for a more firmer shoe. But definitely just to start off an easy, if you're doing easy runs, a cushioned shoe is nice. And that's one that's comfortable as well. Again, Elvery's, yeah, they do the gait analysis and stuff, so that could be a good option for you. But yeah, Nova Blasts or Nike Vomeros for me. Um, those were my two ones that I've done, that I've used. They got me through a marathon block. So yeah, yeah, they're reliable. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Perfect.